It is Friday, January 12th. Happy Friday. Everybody in the Splash Zone is back in your life. I am Matt Modi with my 4 favorite NBA player props for tonight. Splash Zone, meaning who's going to splash around and get us wet. Let's find out. Before we can get into today's picks, as a recap for yesterday, I went 2-2 on my 4 picks, but because I did not have a bunch of plus money banger odds, we did not end the day with a profit. We were down very, very slightly, but still down 0.05 units, essentially breaking even. That brings our total profit on the entire season. We are up 28.95 units, which is incredible, with an ROI of 19.53%, which is also incredible. Some reads I got right. Yesterday, we cashed both Jalen Brunson and Donovan Mitchell points. Some reads I was aggressively wrong on, as I missed Kevin Durant, his point total prop, he went under. I had his over, and I had Devin Booker assist over, and he aggressively went under. That happens. You win some, you lose some. Obviously, we are very happy with our season-long results. Hopefully, we can start a hot streak starting today after being down yesterday. If you're not already, I would appreciate it if you could subscribe to my YouTube channel, so when we go on a hot streak, you can be along for the ride. And let's get into today's picks. Let's get wet. The first play that we're going to go ahead and lock in here is in the Warriors versus Bulls game. And I'm taking Steph Curry under 27.5 points plus 100 odds at DraftKings. So I don't always have a ton of unders. I'm actually going to have 2 under plays today. And this one for Steph Curry, this is an absolutely incredible price that we are getting on DraftKings. I found this play looking at OddsJam and their positive expected value page. And it's a really, really good play. It's always going to be scary fading Steph Curry, but you just got to look where every other book prices this. FanDuel at -125, BetOnline at -130, ESPN Bet at -120. I could go across the board. Legitimately every other book, every single book that has a price for Steph Curry over under 27.5 points heavily favors the under as the favorite outcome, meaning they are charging significantly more juice towards the under. And we're getting it at plus 100, which means a 50-50 in terms of 50-50 proposition in terms of payout. So really, really good price here. I'm guessing a lot of people are going to be on this Steph Curry under. I will say I don't really look at much I don't really look a ton about other people are playing before I record this video every morning, because I don't want to be influenced or by someone else's plays, and I also don't want to make it seem like I'm stealing someone else's plays. So I try to limit as much social media and as much information that I get from other people that give out picks. But I'm guessing, regardless, that a lot of people are going to be on the Steph Curry under, because it's an absolutely smash spot for his under. Yes, to start, he's been horrible the past couple games. He's gone under in 3 straight. He's gone under in 7 of 9. And he's just been shooting horribly. Now, because he's Steph Curry and he's an incredible player, eventually he will bounce back and he will get out of this shooting slump. But that's not what I'm projecting tonight. I know for those of you that are that see a lot of my YouTube channel, that tune into most of my videos, you know that I generally like to fade recent results. And again, I do think Steph is going to come out of his shooting slump eventually. I'm just not expecting that to be tonight. And I think that there's enough bad juju on the Warriors in general that I think the Warriors are going to continue to struggle, and I will ride that Steph continues to struggle as well. As I mentioned, Steph's been cold. This is also a brutal matchup for point guards against the Bulls. Props.cash lists the Bulls as literally the hardest matchup in the NBA for point guard props, which makes sense because when you look at the stats, they've given up the fewest points per game to point guards in the entire NBA. You want to know why? We call it the Alex Caruso effect. Now, Steph Curry is a transcendent player. Nobody can stop Steph Curry, but Alex Caruso is about as good of an on-ball guard defender as there is in the NBA. If you look at basically, this goes back the past 16 games. Only 2 point guards in the last 16 games have scored 28 or more points against the Bulls. Now, I know that that's a high number, right? 28 points is a lot. So guys that have an over-under of 12.5, yeah, they're not going to score 28. But that still does include some really good point guards that went under this number and went under by a decent amount. The Bulls played the Sixers twice. Both times Tyrese Maxey went under his point total over-under, did not get to 28 points. Tyrese Halliburton also went under. Trey Young also went under. Some really good point guards struggle to score against the Bulls. I'm expecting that to be the same thing tonight for Steph Curry. So hopefully he goes under and by doing that comes through for us. Next up, in the Magic versus Heat game, Paolo Banchero under 27.5 points plus 100 odds at DraftKings. I promise this is not a typo. It is the same exact point total and the same exact odds for Paolo Banchero. This is another really good play from an odds perspective on DraftKings. For similar logic to the other one, again, I did browse OddsJam and found this play from line shopping. FanDuel aggressively favors the under at -120. BetOnline aggressively favors the under at -125. It's the same thing across the board where books are heavily favoring him going under. And 27.5 is a lot of points for Paolo Banchero, who's a good player. He's not a consistent high 20s, 30-point type of player, but I understand why it's priced the way it is. A, the Heat are banged up, and we're going to get into that. And B, Franz Wagner is out for the Magic. And Banchero has been playing a lot better with Franz out. I think I said it's Franz Wagner. I think I said Franz Wagner. Now, the thing is, it's a tiny sample size. Wagner has only missed 3 games this year. Yes, Banchero went over in 2 of those 3 games, scoring 30 or more points in both the games he went over. But you got to look at the matchups. He went over against the Hawks. They're a terrible defense. He went over against the Nuggets, who are a good defense, but they're in a little bit of a rut. And then he went under by a very aggressive amount against the Timberwolves, who are the best defense in the NBA. So the Heat are more closer to the Timberwolves than they are to at least the Hawks. The Nuggets are a good defense. Again, they're just in a rut. But talking about the Heat now, as I mentioned, basically the entire roster is listed as questionable on day-to-day. The guy that I care the most about is Bam, and he is not on the injury report, so he will play. Bam is technically the Heat's center, but in this matchup, I'm guessing he's going, or in the matchup against the Heat's matchup against the Magic, I'm guessing that Bam is going to be matched up against Paolo more often than not. And this is a tough matchup for Banchero. He's struggled against the Heat in his career. Now, they've only played 1 time so far this year. Paolo scored 10 points on 2 of 12 shooting. If we go back to last year, which obviously is Banchero's rookie year, so you don't want to put too much emphasis into that, Banchero has gone under all 4 games against the Heat. So 3 last year and 1 this year. And I do think that there is something to that. So our second and final underplay, let's hope that fading Banchero comes through for us. Next up, our third pick, finally getting to some overs. Pacers versus Hawks, Trey Young, 30-plus points, plus 100 odds at ESPN Bet. I don't want to sound like a broken record. Another play where we're getting really, really good pricing on or at the plus 100 odds on ESPN Bet. Most books actually price this at 29.5, but they have the over price at like -130, -140, some up to -150. So there's no value there. And the books that do price this at 29.5 or 30 plus, which is how the books have it, they do favor the over. So it's the same logic here. And this, for the Trey play, this is somewhat of a fade of recent events. Trey, A, hasn't been scoring a ton recently. If you look at his past 10 games, not scoring a ton. And B, these 2 teams played exactly 1 week ago, and Trey only scored 13 points. That game was a total blowout. Trey only ended up playing 28 minutes. His season average is 38, so a full 10 minutes below his average. And the first time these 2 teams played, of course, Trey scored 38 points. So there's nothing with the matchup that scares me away from Trey. It was just a bad game in which the Hawks got their teeth kicked in. And I know when you're looking at the matchup against the Pacers, generally you want to target guys that are going to attack the rim because of how bad the Pacers are at defending in the paint. Instead, we're going with Trey, who he does attack the paint, just not a guy that attacks the rim, obviously. He can easily get into the paint, but he scores instead of scoring in layups, dunks at the rim, he scores on floaters or he draws in the center. And then the Hawks center, which would be Capella, scores with a lob. So Trey assists. It could be the play here, but I'm instead riding with his points after a rough game last time out. I'm expecting him to bounce back from a scoring perspective, get us to 30 points. But I will say his over assist prop is at 11.5 for plus money. I do like that as well. I'm not going to track whether that hits or not, but if you do want an honorable mention, I do like that play, but we're just going to ride with Trey getting to 30 plus points. Last play of the slate, fourth and final pick in the Raptors versus Jazz game. Colin Sexton over 4.5 assists, plus 125 odds at ESPN Bet. So finally, our last play is a non-point total prop. This one is an assist prop backing Sexton to get to 5 assists or more for us. And I really like this play because of the matchup. Now, I know it's a small sample size. We're 12 days into the month of January. But since the Raptors made the trade to trade away OG and Anunoby, their defense has been significantly worse, and their offense obviously has been a lot better. You understand why they did the trade, right? They wanted to get quickly. They wanted to see what RJ Barrett had, and they wanted to get assets for a guy like OG who was going to bounce and walk in the summer. So I'm not saying it was a bad trade. All I'm saying is that it had a negative impact on their defense. So again, it's a small sample size, but in the past week, they've gotten crushed. The past 10 days or so, they've gotten crushed by guard assist props. The reason why I say guard and not point guard, technically Colin Sexton is listed as a point guard, but he's more of a combo guard than he is a true point guard. He's not like a Chris Paul guy that's going to orchestrate the offense. And Raptors have been giving up a lot of assists to guys like Colin Sexton. Harden, who is the most true point guard of the guys I'm going to name, he had an over-under of 7.5. He ended the day against the Raptors with 11 assists. Now, again, he's the best passer of the bunch. But then we have other guys, more combo guards like we're talking about with Sexton. Austin Reeves had 7 assists on an over-under of 5.5. Malik Monk, 9 assists on an over-under of 5.5. Desmond Bane, 8 assists on an over-under of 4.5. Donovan Mitchell, same over-under of 4.5, had 7 assists. All those players that I mentioned all happened since the trade went down. None of those guys, aside from Harden, are known as huge assist guys, and neither is Sexton. So there is going to be some risk here, of course. There's always going to be risk. But Sexton has shown the ability to get it done in good matchups, right? 6 days ago, on last Saturday, the Jazz played the Sixers in Philadelphia, so away game for the Jazz. The Sixers are a team that I like to target guard assist props because of the way they play defense. Sexton had 10 assists in that game. That's a similarly juicy matchup for point guard assist props, as I mentioned. No, I don't think he's going to get to 10. I think he could at least get us to 5. If he does, he will cash this play. And that's all we got. All we need is the Sexton play plus 1 more to cash, and we will be profitable. I would love to have a 4-0 day because it's been about a week since we have swept the slate. So let's hope for that. And that's all we got. 4 plays for you guys to hammer, 4 bangers. If you are riding with me, make sure to comment and let me know. Other than that, would appreciate it if you could like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thanks for watching, and have a good weekend.